Welcome back to this week's episode of IPTM Spotlight. I'm your host, Sharon Murkison, joined today by Tim Cornelius, our State DRE Coordinator, and Ken Harmon, our Traffic Crash Coordinator. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Both gentlemen will be attending this year's 2023 Traffic Safety Symposium in Orlando, Florida. The symposium has two tracks, impaired driving and traffic crash investigation. Tim, can you tell us what we have to look forward to on the impaired driving side of the symposium?
Sure. We've got some, I think, great sessions this year. Some are for basic patrol officers and DUI officers. We have some specialized stuff that are more geared towards DREs. And we have some traffic safety leadership sessions. We have one very special session that I think is going to be great related to mental health for officers, because that's kind of a timely topic right now. On the DUI side, we have from South Carolina, Dave Copenhaver, who's going to come in and talk about effective roadside interviewing and getting voluntary toxicology samples. We've got our Florida TSRP, Traffic Safety Resource Prosecutor Vin Petty, and his partner from Michigan, Ken Stecker, are going to cover DUI and HIPAA and how it does or may not affect your DUI cases. From Nebraska, we have Nate Grimm that's going to come in and talk about Narcan. As if you ever had a case where your subject that you believe is impaired was Narcan, and now you have to deal with that. He worked through a really challenging investigation up there in Nebraska, and he's going to cover that information for us. We're going to have a few speakers that are going to help with patrol officers and even DREs in gathering the information they need to win in the courtroom. One covering totality of the circumstances, basically all the things that we need to look for, make sure we don't forget anything. And our perennial favorite, John Cullen's going to come back again this year and cover DUI, harder to prove than murder. For the DRE track, we've got Matt Myers, Assistant Chief out of Peachtree, Georgia, and his partner Beth Barnes as a prosecutor from Arizona. Going to talk about the science behind the DRE protocols and how the defense gets it wrong, basically, how we can negate any arguments that they have. Chuck Madsen, who many know from previous conferences, I know it's going to be a lively episode with him or session with him where he's going to talk about DUI and DRE and how to develop your expertise in those fields. IACP's very own Joe Bruschi, our regional project manager for the Eastern region, is going to cover a really challenging case that he dealt with. I believe it was out of New Jersey in his case law review, where he's going to just cover a whole bunch of material about that and how to make the best of a bad situation in a case. A couple of Florida instructors that we use are going to come in and cover some information about where we can use DRE investigations outside of the law enforcement role and maybe even within the agency for administrative purposes, although we would hate to ever have to use it for that, but to cover that type of material. As always, we have Florida-specific things because we are here in Florida. So we have our ever-popular Florida DUI case law update, Florida legislative updates, and we have the Office of Medical Marijuana coming back again this year to talk to our Florida officers about the way that the drugs have to be packaged if people are using it medically, so that they can make sure that the guys on the street that are using it, the ladies on the street that are using it, are carrying it the proper way and doing that type of thing with it. We also do have FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, coming back to talk about impaired driving grants and sub-grants, but also any type of sub-grants that you can get from the State Safety Office.
Thanks, Tim, for sharing with our viewers on what they can expect at this year's symposium. Ken, tell us about the crash investigation side of the symposium and what attendees have to look forward to as it pertains to our traffic crash activities.
Boy, it's going to be very difficult following that. Holy cow, did you guys get all that stuff that he had to say? I was stimulated, to say the least. Anyway, talk about the good stuff now. We're going to be dealing with some interesting traffic crash topics. I have been exposed to one of these speakers multiple times in the past, TJ Tennant. He's the tire guy. If you want to know anything about a tire, that guy has it, seen it, has done it. The other entertaining part about TJ Tennant is he is entertaining. The guy is unbelievably funny. He is able to relate this stuff in a way that will make it engaging, interesting, and you'll walk away a better person than when you walked in there. The second topic that is of extreme interest to me personally is human factors and why did this wreck happen. And unfortunately, in crash investigation, we tend to kind of ignore or maybe overlook that person driving the car and what input did he have in this wreck. And unless we kind of take a minute and examine this human behavioral aspect of why did this guy, what was it that motivated this guy to put himself into the circumstances of being involved in this particular wreck, we will miss a pretty big piece of this puzzle. So Jeff Mutart and his group will be here talking about a scientific method to driver response. He is going to bring one of his co-employee workers, Shwarup Dinagar, and he is going to look at this dark environment. Why as drivers do we struggle seeing what's out there? And why does this low light environment create such problems for us as drivers? I think that is of particular interest. And then probably the most entertaining, if not interesting thing we're going to do is we're going to hit some pedestrians. And that's always been near and dear to my heart. Like if we're going to hit some peds, I want to be there. So we're going to take a different step on pedestrian crashes at this particular symposium. We are going to weight a dummy now. So we're going to take our empty Rescue Randy crash test dummy. We're going to fill him up with sand, and we're going to hopefully get him up to around 100 pounds. And then we're going to hit a weighted dummy as a pedestrian and see how that changes it. We're going to have cars that are instrumented with ECMs, and we're going to see if we can't download a near deployment event from some of those weighted dummy impacts to see if that EDR data is even close to what we know it to be, since we're going to be measuring the speeds and the information that actually occurs from the impact. So the actual crash testing Monday afternoon is going to be exciting. Probably the most stimulating part of this entire week, but anytime that we can wreck pedestrians, that's like a bonus for us all.
Thank you, gentlemen, for all that insightful knowledge and information. Be sure to join us June 26th through the 29th for the 2023 Symposium on Traffic Safety in Orlando, Florida. For more information on this year's symposium, please visit our website at www.iptm.org and click on the symposium banner on our homepage. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you here next time on IPTM Spotlight, where we continue to train the next generation of law enforcement.